Well, tonight we are getting the analysis of the Finance Bill 2024. On set with us is Wilson Wambia, member SPAC, Public Policy and Governance Committee, to shed more light on this. Welcome on set.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Maybe to kick us off, what are the consequences of the proposed changes into the country's tax administration and especially to the common mwananchi?
I love that. The consequences are dire. Of course, one of the things that will happen is what you take home from your salary has reduced. But of course, if you look at the finance bill itself, the government is trying to get more revenue so that it can finance its own operations and, of course, the loans that we have that needs to be paid. But if you come to the common mwananchi, of course, you expect that it's going down. However, if you go through the bill, there are instances whereby there are very good things coming in, like those who work in the government, public sectors, or even other sectors where your per diem has been at a threshold of 2,000. The finance bill is taking it at 5% your gross salary. So I'm imagining a situation whereby the per diems were, limited to 2,000, especially those who are in the private sector. And so you cannot give more, but 5% will be something good for those who are in the private sector. But in overall, I tend to think the take home for common mwananchi will be reduced.
What are these things, the specifics that you would advise the public to look into in this proposed bill?
Well, one, of course, is the increased taxes. How do you reduce your expenditures on those areas? Where VAT has gone up, what do you do to make sure that you are keeping afloat? If you ask me, those who are able to, reduce on their digital platform, because that's where the bill actually has come to. All the things which are happening out on the digital. If you go to M-Pesa transactions, right now we have increased taxes. On the other platform, there's a lot more taxes on it. I tend to think people should start shifting back to the hard copy economy slowly to see to it, are we able to manage it? I think there are several things, like when it comes to transactions, or when it comes to M-Pesa, for instance. I'm very sure even you, when you do your transactions, you don't know at time that you've been taxed. You just do the transactions because it's easy to do it. But I tend to think this is the high time that Kenyans should start monitoring their online transactions, because that's where the bill is targeted.
Wambia, when we talk about the digital space, and actually yes, the government is advocating for the digital jobs.
That's true.
So what is your take in regards to this?
Well, I still advocate for people to go digital. That's the way to go. We cannot remain the way we were some years back. All the world is changing. And so the digital way is the way to go. Well, can I say that I also think the government has come in handy because they've realized people are not backwards. People have gone to digital. So they're trying to curb up the tax element when it comes to digital way. So I still advocate for people to go digital, but what you need to do is to monitor your expenses on that digital platform. I tend to think most people send money on platform easily without questioning and all that. And that's where the target is. So go digital, but start having mechanisms to monitor your expenditure.
Talking about that, of course, we'll be having a negative effect on this, and we'll be also having the positive effects.
Sure.
As a country, which direction do you see we are taking come next year with these proposals at hand, if they come through?
Well, for this bill, if you look at the bill, I think strategically the government is trying to raise funds to pay up loans. Of course, strategically they want to do various things. And I want to say this with having all factors constant. If there's no corruption, there's nothing else that's going to divert attention. The bill, yes, will have more funds and you can do more. If that is going to be in place whereby there's no corruption, I think then we are going to achieve more. We can actually achieve more. But if other factors come in whereby the funds are deviated, then I'm sorry to say that it will be very bad on us. But other than that, I tend to think the government ought to have thought twice. I think it's only last year that the taxes went up. I think they should have given us a break this year before it goes up. That's my own opinion. To an extent that let people settle. After settling is when now you increase it. But I tend to think there's a feeling like, you know, we're just tired and you're adding something, more weight on us. If you walk across the streets of Nairobi, people feel like, no, there's something not right. A typical example is the 2.5% on the vehicles. I don't know how many you own, but start thinking of at the time that you're going to pay for that cover, the 2% of the value of that car will be paid. As I was driving, coming, I was talking to my friend, and he told me, hey, CPA Wilson, I'm trying to dispose of my cars. I don't want to pay all this. So you see, already there is some jittery among Kenyans. And mind you, these are Kenyans who understand. How about the people who don't get this information? So they just find themselves with a lot of burden of taxes.
Do you have a solution to this now that you are obviously not for the idea of taxes for people who own cars?
Sure.
Do you have a solution to this that you'd propose?
Honestly speaking, my own solution is we shouldn't have that tax. It's going to discourage so many Kenyans to own cars. What for? Because if you look at it, it's seriously affecting the common person. And of course, the exemption which have been given is to the government itself. The government cars, the military cars are exempt, the ambulances and all that. But I'm imagining a situation whereby a normal Kenyan who is in that business, a fleet of running buses. So there's a cost which has been added into that vehicle. Do you think this business person will just go quiet? No, he'll shift this cost somehow to the common mwananchi. And so the fares will start going up because I want to recoup that money that I pay for this car per year. So I tend to think it's something that the government need to think about it. 2.5 is still too high. I don't know what is the value of your car, but if you look at it, and they've given a minimum amount of 5,000. So, well, that's the government.
Wambia, I get what you say. And when we look at these cars, most of the Kenyans who sell the cars export them and import them from other countries.
Sure.
What is the foreign investment impact that we are projecting, if at all the bill will go through?
Well, it's dire, I want to be honest with you. One of the things is those who trade in the cars, those who import the cars, of course, you expect the market to reduce. So what are we saying? The employment in that sector for those who are working there is going to be reduced. Why? Because the market is going to really say, no, we are going to buy more cars. If somebody had a business to own, I'm just imagining not as a personal use, but you have a fleet that you are doing a business with these cars. So you say, no, let me not own more cars. So you are affecting, the chain is longer. So of course that will affect negatively, of course.
And what do you think we should do, at least not to be affected that much, to some extent?
Well, I tend to think what you need to do is to diversify what you have. In terms of if at all you don't need many cars. Look at the economic benefits of every car that you have in your business. And I think that you are going to reduce the cost to make sure that at least you don't pay so much. Of course, still lobbying with the government to see to it that it doesn't pass the way it is. It's going to affect many other businesses. But also think about it in the other side of the government. They are thinking, how do we get funding in order to mitigate against the deficit that they have? When I read through the bill, I also see the government this side with their shortfalls, challenges they have. I see a common mwananchi this side. And I'm looking at, with all the status quo, that is, there's no corruption and all that, they have nowhere else to go but to start thinking of how do they get in funds, maybe to clear the debts or strategically do the developments for the Kenyans. So it's a balancing act that I tend to think my request is the government should balance it so well to an extent a common mwananchi don't suffer so much, but willingly pay that taxes. And of course, looking at the benefits the taxes bring, that will be an added advantage.
Wambia, time is not on our side. However,
Sure.
in 30 seconds, do you think this proposed bill is favoring the green venture of the government when it comes to environmental concerns?
If you ask me, yes. Yes. If I'm going to reduce the number of cars that are fleet in the Nairobi, one of the things that will work very well with the environment. I think I didn't start by saying that I work for an environmental organization. I'm a controller for Trees for Future. And actually, we advocate for reduced emission of carbon into the atmosphere. If you look at it keenly, it will start reducing this. I mean, at the end of the day, we shouldn't be using so many cars. We should be actually pulling together and reduce that.
That said, Wambia, don't go. We'll be back getting to that.
Sure.
Measures to reduce the cost of living are a key priority for a majority of Kenyans who offered their views about the proposed Finance Bill 2024 during a spot check by KBC Channel 1. Let's have a look.
Members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee of the National Assembly were in Mandera today to conduct a public participation exercise on revenue and expenditure estimates for the financial year 2024-2025.
Elimu ya watoto wa Mandera, elimu ya watoto wa kule Pwani, watoto wote. Kwa sababu masomo kuliko barabara ndio itapeleka Mandera County mbele.
Mandera is among 20 counties nominated for the budget-making public participation forum this year. In Kisumu,
kupata shilingi 60 ni kazi ngumu sana, na sasa wakiongeza ikakuwa shilingi 70. Nitatoa wapi shilingi 10 ilhali hii uchumi yetu ya Kenya iko chini sana.
Members of the public are concerned about measures that directly impact on the cost of living.
And now bicycle riders are not even using fuel and they'll be paying tax. How comes can that happen? Hiyo nayo haiwezekani.
Kulingana na mimi, hiyo tax kuongezwa iko sawa. Juu wakiongeza tax, pia revenue itaongezeka. So revenue ikiongeza, that's how the nation will be built.
In Kiambu, an increase in water and electricity connection is a priority for those we spoke to.
Mvua imenyesha and the bridges that were connecting us to those other constituencies and those other counties, zote zimeashwa na maji. Mkipatiana pesa, wacha bridges to be followed by the population from Kiambu County.
In Kakamega, the area governor is concerned about a reduction in allocation to counties, noting that governors are keen to share out at least 450 billion shillings.
Kamati ya National Assembly bado wanasema ya kwamba counties zipate only 391 billion Kenya shillings, ambao ni pesa haitawezesha counties zetu.
Members of the public have until the 28th of this month to offer their views. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
The views of Kenyans in regards to the proposed Finance Bill 2024. Thank you, Regina, for that bit. Wambia, what is your take?
Interesting. I think you've seen some people are saying, yes, the taxes should be there, should go high. Some are crying. But I tend to think it's high time that the common people look at it objectively. What is it the government want to achieve? And how do we come in? Yes, I'm not supporting that the government should be taxing us, but I tend to think looking at how the performance has been, especially the county governments, they need support. The issue here is county governments don't have other ways of generating revenue apart from fees and taxes. But I'm telling them, I think one of the governor who spoke, that's my governor, but they also need to look at the individual income of all the people within their counties. Are they able to? And I think that will ensure that they prioritize their development agenda for that period. I'm so sure that if you don't have funds right now, you cannot do developments you want to do. And some of these deficits can be addressed by reducing what is it that we want to do for the common mwananchi, so that we don't pinch them so much to an extent they are crying, but they feel like, yes, this is ours.
Thank you, Wambia. Thank you. The conversation continues. Glad you're watching the Prime Edition. We are taking a breather. We'll be back this as we do an analysis on the Finance Bill 2024. Stay with us.